Hey everyone, it's Joanna Kleinman from Dethroning Your Inner Critic, sitting in my psychotherapy office. And I wanted to come on and talk to all of the parents out there. Because one of the things that I am seeing that is such a theme, I would say at least this week, maybe even last week too, um, is moms feeling so frustrated in their in parenting, in and not knowing how to deal with their feelings of frustration, their feelings of sadness, their feelings of worry and concern for their kids, really of all ages. Um, So I thought I would come on today and just talk a little bit about um, what happens for all of us as parents when we see something in our children that we don't like, right? Maybe they're angry, maybe they are talking back, maybe they're slamming doors, maybe they're arguing with us, maybe they are distant, moody. And what I see over and over again is that parents get triggered by their children's behavior. And when they get triggered, what they try to do is they try to react to their child's behavior to try and get them to stop. And what I think that most parents aren't aware of is that our reactions, our frustration, our anger, our sadness in our relationship with our children has to do with us. It has to do with what is getting triggered in us when we see our child acting that way. So, like a perfect example, I had a mom this week that was talking about her daughter had a tennis lesson, and she was halfway to the tennis lesson, and the daughter forgot her tennis racket. And the mom was like, so frustrated and, getting so angry at the daughter for being so forgetful. And when we dug deeper, what we actually discovered was that what was really going on for the mom was that she felt like she was in some way failing her kid because her kid was forgetful and her kid was scattered, and she needed to fix it in her kid. She needed to make her kid more organized and less distracted. And she was so busy trying to fix this within her child and constantly feeling like no matter what she did, she was failing as a mom. And that brought up feelings that she wasn't good enough. She wasn't doing it good enough. And when we dug even deeper, what we found out is that that's something that this mom has struggled with, this feeling of not doing life well enough, not being good enough. That's something that she has struggled with for her whole life. And when she was actually even able to pinpoint where that came from, right? It actually came from feeling like she wasn't good enough for her father. And what is so amazing is that this is how pain literally can get passed from generation to generation to generation. Because when we are not doing our own inner looking to really examine where are we automatically reacting in our lives. We think we're reacting over missed tennis rackets, but sometimes do you ever notice that you're reactions to things don't really match what's occurring, that's an indication. We actually talk about the indication signs in our programs that your inner critic is on her throne. And a big indication sign is if you are particularly reactive, right? If you're particularly frustrated or angry or anxious, there's something else that's going on, and you might not even recognize that that's what's going on. And, you know, a lot of times when we see this behavior in our children, right, when they are acting particularly cranky or particularly moody or particularly disrespectful or even angry, what may be going on for them is some deeper triggers. And we're just responding to that they just, slam the door, rather than recognizing that maybe their anger is a manifestation of maybe some anxiety that they're experiencing. Maybe they're feeling like they're in some way inadequate or not good enough. Maybe, they are afraid that they don't measure up with their peers, whether it be about, I know it's the summer, but maybe sometimes it's about grades during the school year, or, even over the summer, it's about, who's going where and who's doing what over the summer. I mean, these things can be very triggering for our kids. And oftentimes when we witness behaviors in our children that we don't like, we don't recognize that there might be some deeper things going on with them. So one of the reasons why Emily and I both do the work that we do in the world, she as a coach, me as a psychotherapist, and the two of us together with our Dethroning Your Inner Critic programs, is that what we're really committed to is to help mothers raise healthy, happy, well-adjusted children, and which we're all committed to. But that can be very hard if we are not first doing the real work of understanding where our inner critics get triggered. Because I promise you, our inner critics are getting triggered sometimes 20 or 50 times a day. We don't even realize it, because it's such an automatic running commentary in our minds to look for where we don't measure up, where we're not enough, where we are afraid that we're going to fail, where we're afraid that we're going to be rejected, where we're afraid that we're not important enough or loved enough or valued enough. We don't even recognize it. I often talk about, people freak out because someone ate the last chocolate donut. We're not responding to the last chocolate donut. We don't really give a shit about the chocolate donut, right? It's about, you ate the last chocolate donut and you knew that I wanted it and you didn't care. And how dare you make me feel like I'm not important enough and I don't matter. But we don't recognize that in ourselves. And before you know it, chocolate donuts can literally turn into World War III with our children, with our spouses, with ourselves. So hi, Sherry. Thanks for joining. Hey, Ellen. Hey, Judy. So this is what we're really committed to in the world. This is what I always say. We are either surviving life or we are living a life on purpose. And surviving life is really about protecting yourself from those deeper inner feelings, right? We just kind of keep doing life automatically the way that we've always done it. And we react here and we react there, and we have, this kind of relationship with our child or this kind of relationship with ourselves. And we really, keep living life in the same way. And we just tolerate, the way that it is. And What we talk about is really living a life on purpose, where you are examining the areas where fear, discomfort, sadness, anger, where those things show up. And I may be dating myself, but when I was little, one of my favorite books was a book called There's a Monster Under My Bed. I think that's what it was called. It was a Sesame Street book, right? Shout out if you remember that book. And the whole book was Grover from Sesame Street saying, don't turn the page. There's a monster under my bed. There's a monster. Don't turn the page. And then you would turn the page and he would say, I told you not to turn the page. And keeps going, keeps going. You get to the end of the book and there's a monster at the end of the book. The monster was him. He was so afraid throughout the whole book to turn the page. You guys remember that book? And, that's what we do in our lives. Sometimes we're so afraid to actually look at those uncomfortable feelings. We're too afraid. We think that we're going to melt if we examine our feelings of inadequacy, insecurity, fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear that we're not good enough. So we don't examine it. And then all of that stuff that our inner critics love, right? That's like fuel for our inner critics. All that stuff literally runs our life. Sherry remembers that book. So that literally guides how we think, how we feel, and therefore how we behave, and particularly how we behave in our relationships. So, this whole notion of women out there that are afraid that they're messing up their kids. What I find is that they're afraid that they're messing up their kids because they're just reacting so much, automatically reacting to their kids. A lot of times it's out of fear that, I got to fix this in my kid. I got to make them stop acting this way. I got to get them off of video games. I've got to make them more confident. I've got to get them to be somebody that they're maybe not ready to be right now. So I guess what I want to leave you with is if you are out there feeling like you are messing up your kid, okay, and trying to find ways to deal with your child, I would say the first place to start is to really examine what your child is doing or not doing, or what they're struggling with. What is that bringing up for you? What is that triggering within you? And then maybe looking at doing some of your own work to help yourself not operate out of fear with your child, okay? A lot of times fear gets translated into anger. So sometimes when we're so angry at our children, what's really going on is we're afraid. So thank you so much for listening. I do want to let all of you know, whether you're watching live or you are watching on replay, that we have a brand new group that we're starting on July 16th. So for more information, you can go to our website, dethroningyourinnercritic.com. You can email us at hello@dethroningyourinnercritic. We also work with people individually all across the country. So if you are interested in hearing more about the work that we do with moms and how to dethrone your inner critic in your relationship with your kids, give us a shout. We could have a 45-minute free clarity session to help you figure out if we can help you get to where you want to be. And if you're interested in our groups, we'd love to have you too. Have a wonderful evening and have a wonderful weekend, and talk to y'all soon. Bye.